Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Over the Bar. Hope everyone's doing well this very drizzly Friday morning here in Sheffield. Anyway, joined by Rune as per usual. Rune, you've been on the run already this morning, but you're back in time. How are you doing?
Yeah, I've been up early with my kid, but I just made it back in time and doing fine. Just had a cup of coffee and now I'm ready for some fantasy stuff.
Exactly, getting yourself perked up and ready to go for the show. Showing our dedication, well, certainly showing your dedication to getting fantasy football content out for everyone. So yeah, hope everyone's doing well this fine morning. I can see there was definitely a few questions and comments for us to work through, which we will do. So definitely going to get to those. So thank you for asking already. I can see Gavin's been in the chat as well. So thank you all for those. Do make sure that you leave a thumbs up on the show. The fantasy content is one that we're really, really proud of. And we're very, very grateful that you all enjoy it so much. So yeah, any questions, fire them in live and make sure you turn on those notifications after you've subscribed. And of course, make sure you get over and follow Bulinews on X, of course. And then you'll get yourself all the brilliant fantasy football articles, long reads, transfer gossip, match reports, previews, the lot. Make sure you follow them on X as well. Right then, let's get stuck into it, Rune. Well, before we get stuck into it, how did you fare last week? I think I did pretty okay, but I'm really annoyed at myself because I didn't bring in Junior Adumu. I went in a slightly different direction. I thought I did. So when I saw him scoring at the weekend, I was like, yes, get in. But then I quickly realised that, oh, bugger, I didn't actually do it. How was your weekend?
Really good, actually. Finally, I had a good fantasy weekend. I think my draft team did really well, and I ended up with Kübler and Grifo and Adamo from Freiburg, and they all did really well. So I was really pleased, and of course also I kept Kane as I warned some of you guys against selling him, and keeping him certainly paid off.
Yeah, just a bit. So yeah, good. Hopefully, good weekend for everyone. So we'll just bring up for you the defender picks that Rune has gone for this week, and Rune, you can run us through them all right now, and then we'll come to some questions afterwards.
Yeah, my budget pick in defense is Tom Rory from Union Berlin, who has become a nailed-on starter at left wing-back after Gosens has left. And I think so far he's done quite well for the price. Got 180 points per game on average in the 2 games he's played so far. So that's quite solid. Union have a pretty good home game against Hoffenheim this week. He could also have some attacking involvement in that game, given Hoffenheim's defensive struggles so far this season. And I think Bo Svensson has had a great impact on Union's defense. At least they're still struggling a bit to create chances, but I think they're looking much more solid in defense now than they have for a while. So they could also be a plus for a defender from Union. And then my mid-price pick is Maximilian Vitek from Bochum. He's actually a bit expensive given that he plays for Bochum. It's not really a budget player, so that's why he's in the mid-price category. But nevertheless, Bochum have a game that they really need to win this week against Holstein Kiel at home. They've lost all three games so far, so they'll be determined to win against Kiel at home. And Vitek has actually been really good fantasy-wise. He's averaged nearly 200 points per game, and that also shows that despite playing for a team that's losing games, you can still do very well fantasy-wise. And I think this week he could have a good chance of getting past the 200 points maybe, because Bochum will be much more dominant in this game. That's what I expect at least, and try to get some goals against a Kiel side that obviously is coming off a heavy defeat against Bayern. And then finally, my premium pick is Nico Schlotterbeck, who I just wanted to mention again because he's back from suspension. And he really impressed me on match day 1, getting nearly 400 points against Frankfurt, despite not being involved in any of Dortmund's goals in that game. So that certainly showed what he's capable of. And then, of course, I brought him in, and he got a red card on match day 2. So that wasn't part of the plan. But nevertheless, he's back now. Probably won't get another red card. The only downside is that Dortmund have a pretty tough game against Stuttgart this week. Probably won't be as dominant and as much as the ball as they are most weeks. But they have a different coach now in Nuri Sahin, who's trying to play more possession-based football. So it's not like with Edin Terzic, who would probably have tried to defend against Stuttgart. I think Dortmund will try to take a more dominant approach on the Sahin, and Schlotterbeck is very involved in the build-up play as well. So just an overall good pick. I think a player that will do well most weeks.
Yeah, no, some good picks there, absolutely, Rune. So there you go, everyone. We'll come to some questions now. Of course, this is, the first week that we're doing the show where it's probably going to be the case that we're talking about squad rotation a little bit, certainly for the teams that are involved in Champions League. But the fact that, Schlotterbeck will be able to, slot in. Although, he did play against Brugge, didn't he? I think.
He had a pretty good game in Champions League Fantasy there as well.
Okay.
I also had him there. So,
yeah, there we go. Good stuff. Right, let's come to some questions. Just want to double check. Gavin's, I think they're more in respect to midfielder. That's about it. So we'll come back to those. Morning, Jay. Thank you very much. Very much looking forward to another goal-laden Bundesliga weekend. Absolutely. Morning, Jay. Although Jay unfortunately took out Kane last week, so commiserations there, pal. Good morning, Sophia. Hope you're doing well. TBL, 666 points at the weekend, so well done to you. Thanks to us guys. Thanks to Rune, really. And good morning, Lawrence. He is up and about. He isn't up and about. Almost 1 a.m., so won't be able to watch till later. Wanting to ask about Adumu, so we will come back to that one for you, Lawrence. Right then, question in from Jay. So this is around defenders, so we will get this answered for you now. Some easy either or questions for you guys today. So Reuter, Wolf or Masovic this weekend. Reuter's obviously in your picks, Rune. Wolf had a really good game for Augsburg against Pauli. I thought he was really, really bright, let alone the goal that he scored. And they're obviously playing tonight, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that could be an interesting one in terms of seeing the lineup straight away. Mines as well, so opportunities there. Masovic as well against Kiel. They're all decent options, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's an easy question, actually, because, as you say, they're all decent options, and I think they could probably all likely to get around 200 points this week. I think in terms of ceiling, probably trust Wolf and Rode a bit more than Masovic. Masovic is really solid, though. Usually gets a lot of points from duels won. I think Rode and Wolf are probably more likely to be involved in a goal. But Wolf is actually a really decent pick this week as well. He's also the type of player who he's quite physical and capable of winning duels as well as contributing offensively. So great alternative to Rode. I don't know what his price is actually, but a great pick.
Yeah. Grand. I don't think there's any other defender questions. So if you can have a little look at that, Rune, whilst I'm introducing the midfielders, or scribble it down, and then we can come back to that price tag. Jay also saying, here we go. I think Jay.
Okay, so it's the same as Rode. So a bit of a coin toss, tough one. Wolf was substituted pretty early against St. Pauli, if I remember correctly. I think Torup said that he only had 60 minutes in the tank.
Okay.
So probably physically he's not really capable of playing 90 minutes yet. So that could speak in favor of getting Rode instead. Probably more likely to play the full game.
Yeah, absolutely. Rorter looks like a good attacking threat from set pieces as well. He's taller than I thought he was, actually, especially for a fullback. So yeah, I think he could go well there. Also, good stuff. Jay also saying congratulations to us for the weekend haul, given our 11 was the same. So yes, obviously paying great attention to the fantasy draft there, Jay. So well done to you. One in this morning from Abdullah. Good morning, everyone. Got the best start of the season. Currently, overall rank is 6. Thanks to everyone here for your valuable suggestions. That's certainly a round of applause there, pal. Excellent start to the season. Hope you're going well. Right, so that's all of our defender questions. And as he says so because he's super unorganized, filling space to get midfielders ready. There we go. So we will move on to midfielders. There you are, going at the bottom of your screen. So Rune, back over to you to walk us through your 3 picks.
Thank you. Budget pick is a true differential. Miyoshi from Bochum, a new arrival, made his debut for Bochum against Freiburg last week, and I thought he looked really promising. Although he only scored 107 points, he was very involved in Bochum's attacking play. You can see that when you look at his points as well. And he had a lot of shot involvement, and yeah, they simply defended for much of the game, so that made it quite difficult for him to get a big return. But the game against Kiel will be very different. That's what I expect, at least. Bochum will be much more dominant and determined to win, and I think Miyoshi could play a key role there in attacking midfield. And then my mid-price pick is Vincenzo Grifo. Ownership still only 6% last time I looked, and yeah, that's quite amazing because he's really started the season well under Schuster. Last week he was just everywhere in their win over Bochum. He only got an assist, but still ended up picking up 328 points. So just very, very involved for Freiburg, and seems like he's back to his best, really. And I think, given Freiburg's favorable schedule, I'm not going to take him out anytime soon, and I can only recommend bringing him in. And then I just wanted to mention Granit Xhaka. It's my premium pick this week because he may have flown under the fantasy radar a bit, but actually he's been the second highest scoring midfielder, only behind Wirtz, who's been by far the best producing midfielder. But nevertheless, I know Xhaka scored on match day 1, but even match day 2 and 3, he also did very well. And of course, he's just very involved in the way Leverkusen play. And it seems like he gets around 90 points per game just from build-up play, which obviously is very helpful, and that gives him a very solid base. So in case you can't afford Wirtz, I want to double up on Leverkusen. I think he's a good shout, also because he just plays almost every game. I know they have Garcia now, who can maybe fill in for him sometimes, but he's just so essential to the way Leverkusen play. So should play 90 minutes most weeks, and that's also a big plus, of course.
Yeah, he is not one of those players that is that regularly moved out by Alonso, is he?
No.
Touch wood, we say that now. Right then, so yeah, good stuff. Thank you for that, Rune. Let's move on to questions, because I know there's quite a few in regards to midfield and around this area. So Jay has asked, first of all, let's get to this one. Vanna or Miyoshi, and then Grifo or Gross. Interesting ones. I'm guessing by what you just said and by the fact that Grifo is in your picks that you would favour Grifo over Gross this weekend, fixture wise and all.
Yeah, I think Gross is a bit like Xhaka, actually. He's just very involved in Dortmund's build-up play and gets a lot of points from that. So usually he just does pretty well. He has a pretty high floor, but I think in terms of ceiling, Grifo offers a lot more. Is much more likely to get on the score sheet, for example, and also they just have a great schedule, Freiburg. So at the moment, I would lean towards Grifo. And regarding Werner or Miyoshi, I think Werner is the safest pick. He's already proven what he's capable of this season. Scored a few goals for Heidenheim, also picked up an assist. So we'll probably go with him. Miyoshi would be more of a gamble and more of a 1 week punt, I'd say, but could pay off because Bochum have a really good matchup at home against Kiel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. Right then, let's have a quick look at Gavin's questions then. So Gavin has asked, one can only start one midfielder, so spending 40 million euros on two players in the same position seems like a waste of money. Well, interesting comment there, Gavin. I suppose depends who your two 20 million euro players are, although I can't imagine there's more than two or maybe even three in the game at all. So probably just goes on fixture by fixture really in terms of who you're starring, to be frankly honest, because they're both going to be those high ceiling players. I presume they're the Musiala and Wirtz off the top of my head. You can correct me there, Rune, if
That's true.
Okay, so tricky one, Gavin. Would you say that it's a waste of money, Rune, having two top tier players from a money perspective when you can only star one?
No, not at all. Because they've both started the season so well. They've both been amazing, especially Wirtz, of course.
Yeah.
So just two players who can really get big returns, and even without a star on one of them, that will do your team really well. If one of those two players has a great game, and they usually do. So the only thing I'm a bit worried about is the risk of rotation now that the Champions League is back. I think Musiala I'm fairly confident he'll start. He was taken off quite early against Zagreb. With Wirtz, I'm not as sure he will start. He was also substituted at around, I think 70 minutes. I think he was subbed off last night. He hasn't actually been rotated that much out this season. Last season, Alonso chose to take him in and out of the team a lot in order to protect him. Doesn't seem like that's the case this season. But sure, I think that's an important factor this week as well. Rotation risk, and also maybe speaks in favor of choosing a formation with 4 midfielders instead of 5. Even if you have 5 premium midfielders, if you go with 4, then you are sort of safe if one of them is rotated out. But not a waste of money at all to have both Wirtz and Musiala, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think Gavin's conundrum that he also has is that, so his earlier comment, and I'll read this out because it's quite a long one. You'll be asleep, of course, when was recording, so hope you enjoy the show when you get to it, Gavin. But the early question was, if you could only have 2 of Kane, Wirtz, and Musiala in your team, which 2 would you choose? I'm thinking of ditching Musiala. It's a very tricky one. Out of those 3, I'd be inclined to do the same, to be honest, Gavin. What are you saying, Rune? Out of those 3, would you disagree?
Definitely keep Kane. 7 goals in his last 2 games, so that's a no-brainer, and he'll also probably play 90 minutes. A bit of a coin toss between Wirtz and Musiala. I don't know. Probably wouldn't sell Wirtz, but if I had to choose, I feel almost 100% sure that Musiala will start because he was subbed off so early. And I think Gnabry is much more likely to be rotated out. Don't think Company will make 2 changes in the attacking department. With Wirtz, I'm a little more in doubt about his starting place. So I'll probably sell Wirtz if I had to, but probably wouldn't do so.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of questions, Gavin, but hopefully you've made some sense out of our chat there. Aldo just popping into the chat saying my Oshi ended training early on Wednesday and wasn't in the training pictures on Thursday, so waiting for the news from the press conference. Nothing you had there.
Yeah, I completely forgot to say that actually. I also noticed that he picked up a knock in training. Actually, didn't know about the training pick on Thursday. His absence there. That's worrying, of course. So yeah, let's wait and see what's been said at the pre-match press conference. But good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for making that one, Aldo. Sophia, you have asked any thoughts on Amiri? A player that has slotted in so well since his move across to Mainz. Ended the season particularly well. Start of this season, I can't profess to have followed how well Amiri's actually got on, to be honest, in a lot of the games. So, Rune, we might have to just pick this one up a bit more ad hoc. Have you noticed how Amiri's done certainly from a points haul point of view?
Yeah, I love Amiri. Big fan of him as a player. Such a influential player for Mainz. He's just involved in everything they do, basically, and he scored 2 goals, as far as I remember, in the Bundesliga so far in his first 3 games, if I remember correctly, including a wonderful free kick goal on match day 1 against Union. So, yeah, an awesome pick. Too bad there are so many good picks in midfield, but he is a player I'm considering bringing in this week. I have to say, especially because Mainz have quite good schedule, and he's just his average points is I think around 200 points per game, which is obviously very good, and especially for the price. He's at 13 million if I remember correctly, so he's just that bit cheaper than, for example, Stöger. And at the moment I can't see any reason why you would pick Stöger over Amiri. Then better save those 2 millions, for example, and get Amiri in.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, Amiri's hauled in 701 points already, so averaging around that 230 marker per game. So yeah, particularly impressive actually. I must admit my memory must be going to have forgotten that free kick. So yeah, apologies, Nadim, there, because have actually made a fantastic start to the season. Jay has also asked who's your midfield star this weekend, then Rune. Who are you thinking of popping that star on?
Yeah, actually, could be Musiala, but I also really like Xavi Simons this week against St. Pauli. Simons also plays almost every game. It's very rarely rotated out. Simply a player who wants to play every time. And I think Pauli is probably a team that fits Leipzig well, because unlike some of the other teams that are in the bottom of the table, Pauli actually like to try to dominate games. They like to be in possession. And Leipzig sometimes struggle against teams that stand back, far back with that defensive line. But I don't think Pauli will do that the same way that the Union, for example, or Bochum did it. And that could create some chances for Leipzig on the counter. And as we all know, Simons and Openda and all those guys are just very, very good on the counter. And that could be very dangerous for Pauli if they try to play the way they usually do against a team like Leipzig.
Yeah, for sure. Wasn't that his most influential best last night? Ultimately, a tricky game, I thought. Going across to Madrid. Noosa got the start as well, and unfortunately was not hauled off at half time. But again, that didn't really get greatly involved in the match. Even though I thought Leipzig actually played pretty well overall, they'd be kicking themselves to have conceded late on. But yeah, I think they'll definitely be looking to bounce back at the weekend. Right, so a couple of questions that were asked prior to the show, so I'm having to refer to my phone here. One in from Goal Machine, who has asked about how is the prospect of Freiburg on the road, and also about Musiala, hold or sell. So I think we've pretty much covered Musiala for you, and basically pretty much hold is what we're saying. And then, prospects of Freiburg on the road. Of course, they've made a really impressive start to the season. Heidenheim obviously presents a really interesting game, I think, this weekend. And obviously, we were talking about it last night on the prediction show, obviously, with Cameron, which is great fun. I mean, stands to be quite a close game, Rune, but still, one where Freiburg assets should still thrive.
Yeah, not taking anything away from Heidenheim, but I think defensively, at least, they've shown some big weaknesses. I think they were quite lucky, actually, both on match day 1 and match day 2. Match day 1, Pauli actually dominated the game for a while, and then they hit them on the counter and scored. They could easily have conceded there. And then against Augsburg, I think Augsburg hit the woodwork a few times, and they got a bit lucky there in that 4-0 win as well. And then they conceded 4 goals against Dortmund. So clearly, as great as they are when they're going forward with Werner and Scienza and those guys, they also have some problems at the back. So especially if we're talking attacking Freiburg assets, I wouldn't be worried about keeping them, especially also because they have some good fixtures coming up after this one.
Precisely. Great stuff. One last question, then we will move on to strikers, and I know we're running slightly away from that. One in from Joe Bryan, who says, "Love the show, guys. Me and my dad watch every week, so that's lovely, Joe. Hope you're enjoying the Bundesliga so far this season." And really good question, actually, because it's in and around how we're shaping our teams this week. Because last week it looked like 5 midfielders were key and 3 strikers were the thing of the past. But now 4 of the top 10 point scorers are strikers and only 2 are midfielders. Is it all change again? And that's such a good question. I will, as per, palm it off onto you, Rune. What do you reckon to Joe's question?
Last week was a pretty high-scoring week. We had some braces from strikers like Mamouche and Adamu, and obviously Kane scored a hat-trick. Boniface also scored a brace and got an assist. So it was a week where strikers simply did well, and on weeks where they get on the score sheet, they will pick up points. The problem with strikers with the new rules are that if they don't score, most of the time they won't do that well. So you need goals from strikers. And this week you could get goals from strikers as well. I mean, Kane is capable of getting good returns every week, and we also have Leverkusen at home against Wolfsburg. If Boniface plays there, could have another good game, and Openda away against St. Pauli. So depends on the week, depends on the matchups. Midfielders most of the time will also pick up points from other stuff than just goals, where strikers usually they need goals to thrive under the new scoring rules. So have a look at the matchups and make your choices based on them whether you think strikers will have a good chance of getting 1-2 goals during the weekend.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks for that question, Joe. Joe is doing great work himself over on X and indeed on YouTube, doing amazing Lego stadiums. Obviously, a vast majority of them Bundesliga stadiums. They're absolutely epic. So obviously, if you do get a chance, go over to X and give Joe a follow. He is at @WayDayJoe_. So thank you for the question, Joe, and hope you're enjoying the show. Right then, let's focus in on strikers then for the last few minutes. Obviously, need to give them plenty of attention. So back over to you, Rune.
Yeah, first up, Junior Adamu scored 2 goals last week. So a good hold if you have him already. But if you don't, then it's not too late to pick him up. As I've said a few times, Freiburg have a great schedule, and I also back them to maybe get a few goals against Heidenheim. So very good option for the price. Also Boadu from Bochum, it's a quite good alternative. But I think Adamo is probably the more safe option and also the better long-term hold. A mid-price pick is Andre Kramaric from Hoffenheim, who has proven to be one of the best value picks so far, which isn't that surprising in itself. I think at 10 million, he's underpriced, but he's been better than I expected, at least, even though I have quite big expectations for him. And unlike most of the other strikers, he's also capable of getting points from build-up play. Takes set pieces for Hoffenheim and plays in more of an attacking midfield role. That's a big plus with Kramaric, like with Marvin Duksch, for example, for Werder, who's also on set pieces. Those kind of strikers can work well with the new scoring rules as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, I have Luis Openda as my premium pick. He was a big disappointment last week, but wouldn't lose faith in him just yet. If you already own him, don't forget he scored a brace against Leverkusen in the previous game. And as I said earlier, I think the Pauli game is one that may suit Leipzig rather well. Pauli probably won't be as defensively minded as most other bottom place teams are, and I'm not overly worried about Openda being benched despite playing in Europe. Usually starts every game. I don't think Leipzig have another striker like him. I think Sesko is more likely to be benched for Poulsen if they make a change up front.
Agreed. Yeah, completely agree there around rotation. Thank you for that, Rune. That's grand. Right, let's just come to a couple of comments then, and then we'll close things up this morning. Jay has asked about Kramaric or Marmouche. Given Frankfurt's following, this should be a no-brainer. Frankfurt have been a delight to watch so far this season, and really good going forward. Marmouche has really settled, with that kind of front three. And
they have Holstein Kiel next week. I think that's what he's referring to, and that's obviously a big plus about getting Marmouche, the fact that they have two good matchups.
Yeah.
So a good alternative for roughly the same price, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then would you move Adumu out for one of the above if you're playing two strikers only?
Could imagine doing that, but with that said, I think that money is probably spent better elsewhere, because I quite back Adamo to do well this week as well, and in the weeks to come. So I think at the moment he's just excellent value for money. So I would probably rather spend that 4 or 5 million elsewhere.
Yeah. And his confidence is going to be sky high right now, isn't it? So, on the crest of the wave. Absolutely. One in from Strassen Kicker. Thanks for the tips at the beginning of the season. Now I'm 289th in the game. Again, excellent start to the season. Very well done. And hope you only climb upwards. So that is grand. Right. I think we've covered everything live chat wise and questions that have been asked prior to the show. Apologies if we haven't covered everything, but I think time wise we'll call it there. So thank you to everyone as per usual for your engagement, your involvement. As per, we'll be knocking around YouTube, so if you haven't watched us live, we'll answer questions if we can do in the comment section all the way up to the obviously kickoff tonight at 7:30 UK time. And just very much looking forward to the weekend of action. Just a bit of a reminder to check out the prediction show that we did last night with a first timer in the shape of Cameron from Bulinews, of course. Rune will know him well. Made a fantastic debut show doing some predictions for us. Very much appreciated that. And Cam had a blast, which is great. So make sure you give that a watch. And then just closing things up from this morning. As always, please do thumbs up the show, comment along, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. You know where to find us on X, at Over the Bar FB and Village Footy 20. Also over on Instagram, so you can't miss us from a social media perspective. We'll be back on Monday for the review show to review it all again. So all there is left to say is thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Rune, and we'll see you in the next one.